The headline from the New York Times today says Zimbrak, the decline and fall of the Roman Empire isn't saying what you think it is. That's the title of a guest essay by Charles King, a Georgetown professor who was writing a book about Edward Gibbon's monumental 6-volume history. Gibbon first published the first volume in 1776, a few months before the American Declaration of Independence, and he carried the work for 12 years, finishing in 1788. The book, with its 1.5 million words, has remained the most influential English history work ever written. Gibbon's questions are still unsettling. Why does civilization seem to slide toward barbarism? Does a culture that rises have to fall? King argues that Gibbon's answer, short and powerful, is statesby not the length of a civilization but the quality of what it leaves behind. The great constant Gibbon points to is self-delusion, the way people gradually accept the erosion of habits, rituals, and laws until it's too late to bend them back. He famously writes that Rome was willing to submit to slavery, provided they were respectfully assured that they still enjoyed their ancient freedom. For Gibbon, chronicling Rome's decline was a way to understand how a society can keep its oldest values alive even when future generations can't see them the same way. The relevance of Gibbon's Rome was obvious in King's own time. In 1860, Henry Adams read the book and wrote that one could substitute the word America for the word Rome, and the question became personal as the United States was tied in sectional conflict and heading toward civil war. Since then, Gibbon has been called the perennial prophet of what happens when a good country goes bad. What one takes from Gibbon depends on who's reading him. Cosmopolitans find a defender of tolerance against religious extremism. Anti-authoritarians see a champion of Republican government del. Nationalists quote him on the perils of immigration. And in today's manosphere, he is cited as a seer about the dark power of women and the effeminate. Each group interprets his words to fit a particular narrative. The essay points out that Gibbon was writing about a Britain that was already falling into doubt. He was trying to write an account that would make future Rose acondicionado. King's point is that we can learn something from that. We can learn that great cultures need to be honest about how their values change and that we shouldn't let the old ways slip away unnoticed. So why does this matter for 2026? Because we're still watching societies shift. We're still seeing the ways that institutions, if not challenged, can become empty shells, and we're still tempted to look to historical works for a blueprint. Gibbon's work reminds us that the strength of a culture is measured by how well it might hand off its best parts. His insistence on confronting self-delusion is a warning that the best defense against the inevitable decline is the willingness to look at the past honestly. In closing, Charles King reminds us that Gibbon was writing about survival, about leaving something behind that people can recognize as worth. In that lesson, we find a quiet denial of the idea that decline is inevitable. That's the message the writer is trying to share. Cultures can fade, but they can also be remembered because we decide to protect their most valuable parts. Thank you for listening. Stay curious, stay questioning. Dr.